It was past midnight. Light rain. The highway was empty, but I didn't feel alone at all. Headlights sliced the fog. Then I saw her standing by the roadside. White dress, long. She didn't move. Didn't signal. Just watched me or seen. Two from behind her hair. I stopped without thinking. Got out. No wind. No sound. Only her presence was real. "Do you need help?" I asked. No reply. But she was already by the passenger door. She entered like she knew the truck belonged to her, and I was just filling the seat. She said nothing, but the cabin grew colder, smaller. The air became too still. The radio turned on. Static. Then a child's voice said, "Thanks for coming back." I swallowed hard. I didn't know her, but she clearly knew me. Deeply. I hit the gas, but the road had changed. The moment she stepped inside, she didn't move. Yet I heard footsteps like she was pacing without leaving the seat. I checked the mirror. The road bent in impossible angles like a shifting maze. The voice on the radio repeated, "She already knows." Then laughed childlike, sharp. I tried to ask who she was, but my voice sounded like it came from underwater. She slowly turned, face still covered, then smiled. A toothless, unnatural smile. "You drove me once. Now you must again," she said, lips unmoving. I stayed quiet, yet I could hear her thoughts before I even formed mine. The cabin darkened, the windows fogged, lights in the sky grew closer. The GPS showed a single point, origin, no route, no destination. And for the first time I felt I'd lived this before, but maybe not as the driver. I looked at my hand. The wedding ring was gone, but I was never married, I think. She lifted her arm and pointed ahead. "You chose to forget. Now drive." Each mile faded her a little more, but it also erased something inside me. The radio played my voice. "She's not a legend. She's a mirror," I heard myself say. I pulled the brake. Too late. The road vanished. Only the hum of the engine remained. Lights spun around the truck like I was looking for cracks in my sanity. She placed something in my lap. A pocket mirror. My reflection was hers. I screamed. She smiled. "A mirror keeps what stares long enough," she whispered. The road returned upside down, sky below, asphalt above. I drove, suspended, and on the windshield, written in fog, "This time, it won't be you who returns." The clock read 4:04, but the outside lights said noon, and the moon was still visible. She began singing. The song was old, in a language I shouldn't have understood. The cabin pulsed in waves, like time pulling forward and back in uneven tides. I blinked. She was gone. Outside now, walking along, the moving truck. I hit the brakes, opened the door. Nothing. I turned back. She was in the driver's seat. "You rested. My turn now," she said, holding the wheel without lifting a finger. I closed my eyes. 1 second later, she was in the back seat, laughing. My phone rang. Unknown number. A voice like mine said, "Get out of the seat." I checked the rear camera. Someone lay in the trailer. White dress, just like hers. And for the first time, I thought, maybe she isn't riding with me, I am riding in her. The radio now played memories. Not mine. A little girl's. Lost somewhere on this road. Each station was a fragment her house, her father leaving, a crash, then silence. She didn't speak, but I saw everything as if through her eyes, through her pain. A truck, brakes failing, a white figure crossing. Then darkness swallowed it all. I turned off the radio. She looked directly at me, Tears rolled silently down her face. "You took me off the road once," she said. "Now you have to return." Me? I wanted to deny it, but the dirt road ahead felt familiar. Like a scar I never saw. I'd been here before, not driving. Hurt, carried by someone in white. The road showed me. Maybe I was rescued, only to repay the debt now. On her seat, a child's notebook. My name written inside, in a child's shaky hand. The headlights lit a road that wasn't on any map, yet I'd driven it before. She whispered softly, "Every turn is a choice you've already made. Even if you forgot, the truck moved by itself, obeying decisions I didn't make or understand." The road blinked like a pulse, deciding which version of reality to show me next. My truck came toward me, same model. In the driver's seat, she smiled. I braced for impact, but it passed through mine like mist, leaving only static. The radio screamed, then whispered, "This ride has already happened 7 times." She was gone, but her seat was still sunken. Something still sat there. The dashboard no longer showed mileage. Just one word, repeat. Behind me, I heard a second engine, mimicking mine, inching closer every second. I turned off the radio. It kept talking, dashes, dots, pulses, Morse code. I translated it. It read, "You're the story she keeps telling." Didn't make sense. I wasn't dead. I was here, driving, alive. But the windows reflected places I hadn't driven through, yet they felt familiar. Every reflection showed a scene, a crash, a casket, an empty truck cab. In her lap, the mirror again. This time, no reflection, just her face. "You never drove alone," she said. "You only thought you had control." Lights in the sky returned, but this time, they hovered inside the truck. The clock ticked backwards. The road rewound beneath the wheels. Something in her was guiding me, or pulling me back to the start. The road ended in a tunnel of fog. No light, no clear path ahead. She held out her hand, calm, like she knew what I was supposed to do. With every meter into the fog, my mind warped. My name no longer sounded like mine. The radio whispered prayers in tones that sounded less holy, more ritual. Ahead stood another white figure, not her. Older, tired, but the same. Time doesn't heal, it repeats, the figure said, then vanished into mist. I tried to reverse. The wheels only sank deeper into the tunnel's throat. She wrote on the glass, "Last chance to remember who you were." I closed my eyes, and I was a child, again, riding in the back of a truck. I woke to a blaring horn, but my hands weren't on the wheel anymore. My thoughts blinked like faulty headlights. Flashes of broken memory returned. She stood in front of my truck, but I was outside myself. The one driving now wasn't me, or maybe it was a version long buried. I screamed. No one heard, except her. She looked at my absence and smiled. "Now you understand. You were a passenger before you were the driver." The road was a cycle told through different mouths, but the end always stayed the same. She moved without the engine, and the road opened like an old scar torn open again. The mirror showed a shadow on my seat, though no one sat there. And I understood. She's never alone, because she carries those who don't return. And maybe I was just another body for her to tell the story through again. The truck stopped, or maybe I did. Hard to tell what was still my decision. Outside, daylight rose, but the sky looked tired, like it had done this too many times. She stood by the curve again, in perfect silence. Even the wind feared her now. I stopped the engine, knew this was the end, or maybe someone else's beginning. She looked at me with pity, then gently signaled me to leave the cab. I stepped out, but my feet hovered slightly above the ground. Weightless, another truck approached in the distance. Same make, same cracked headlight. Its driver looked like me, younger, brighter, unaware. She walked into the fog, vanished slowly, as if dissolving into memory. Back in the cab, a notebook lay on her seat. 47 names. Mine was the last. The truck rolled on, but the world outside looked built from repurposed memories. She no longer spoke, but everything about her told me what would come next. My body felt lighter, like I was being erased layer by layer. The road showed no end, only shadow stories no one ever got to finish. Another truck passed, its driver smiled. My face, but eyes that weren't mine. The radio whispered, "Every legend begins when someone chooses to remember the forgotten." Her dress faded into fog. On the seat, only a blank notebook remained. Inside, one phrase, "Next passenger, you." The name was still unwritten. The road opened once again, not to a destination, but to ritualized forgetting. And the world continued without her, without me, but with the legend alive at dawns. Next curve. Asterisk, she appeared in the mirrors, even when she wasn't inside, sometimes smiling, sometimes crying. My reflection blinked out of sync. Then, it blinked from the wrong side of the glass. She wrote on the window, "You don't drive. You carry stories that forget themselves." I tried leaving the road, but it twisted itself back, choosing what came next without me. She spoke in my voice now, words I never said, but they sounded real, almost irreal. Someone cried in the back seat. I opened the door. It was me, younger, sleeping. I shut the door and breathed deep. The road now dripped like wetting sliding off memory. The radio announced, "Input complete." Memory sensed, preparing for next cycle. She smiled softly this time, like someone fulfilling an ancient duty, and I understood. The road doesn't take you. It remakes those who won't stop driving. The lights in the sky were now inside the cabin, spelling words that had no translation. The dashboard showed my name beneath it, version 12.4. Currently replacing. I touched the wheel. Cold. It sunk like flesh. The truck was swallowing me whole. She whispered, "You're almost ready. Just forget what you still want to remember." The windows vanished. Only fog remained, like the world had been deleted outside. In the mirror, I saw other trucks, each one with my face, different ages. Same fate. She touched my hand, and in that second, I saw all of it, who I was, will be, and never was. Her seat was empty. She had vanished, but the door never made a sound. The radio played a new voice. "Driver available, searching for next passenger." And the truck drove itself, as if someone new had just stepped inside. A new stretch of road appeared, made from words only I could understand. Each mile erased a name from my mind. Friends, family, even my own. The cabin now responded to thoughts. Fear created real curves. Ahead. She didn't return, but her dress was on the seat, wet, still smelling of cold wind. Inside the glove box, a notebook with future dates, names I hadn't yet met. The road blinked like Morse code. It read, "You're the warning, not the saved." I stopped the truck, but the world kept moving. Everything spun, except me. For a moment I knew what she was, not a ghost, but a correction in broken timelines. And now I was too. Something unseen but always felt when it's already too late. She disappeared, but the headlight by the bend said the legend must go on. The next stop was a curve I knew. Same leaning post, same overgrown ditch. She stood there again, silent now. Even the wind refused to move near her. I stopped. I knew this was the end or someone else's beginning. She looked at me with pity, a hand gesture. Time to leave the cab. I stepped out, but I floated, just inches above the cracked, glistening pavement. A new truck neared. Same model, same broken headlight. Inside a driver like me. Younger, cleaner, unaware. She walked into the fog, slowly, as if dissolving into forgotten memory. Back in the cab, a notebook waited on her seat, 47 names. Mine was last, and I understood. Now, it was my turn to vanish. Before morning dawned, the truck rolled on, but the outside looked stitched from leftover memories. She didn't speak. Now, everything in her already said what would happen next. My body grew lighter, layer by layer. I felt myself being unmade. The road showed no end, just shadows. Lost stories never told again. Another truck passed us. The driver smiled. My face, but not my eyes. The radio whispered, "Every legend begins when someone chooses to." Remember forgetting. Her address faded into fog. Only a blank notebook remained on the passenger seat. One phrase inside. "Next passenger, you." The name was still unwritten. The road opened again, not to a place, but to ritualized forgetting. And the world moved on without her, without me, but the legend remained. Alive at dawn. Asterisk, I drove until the sky was gone. Above me, a floating black mass, like liquid shadow. The headlights caught a body in the road. It was her, collapsed, wounded, crying. I stopped, ran toward her. But it was me. Same clothes, same cuts, same panic. I touched my face, cold skin. Behind me, another truck approached through the fog. She now sat in the driver's seat, screamed, "Save her! You die. Ignore her. Become her." I froze between both versions, one begging, one waiting. I stepped down. The pavement cracked like glass beneath it, my face, thousands of times. And they whispered, "You're alive, because someone else chose to vanish before you." I closed my eyes, breathed deep, but the air filled me like a first breath, not a last. And I felt that her legend lived only because we refused to accept our own. The final stretch wasn't real pavement. It was made of memories turned into road. I drove through sensations, smells, sounds, names I never remembered living. She still wore white, but her dress moved on its own, flown like something alive. She looked at me. Her eyes were mirrors inside them. 1,000 versions of me screamed. The radio whispered, "The next one is coming. Just make room for him." In the back seat, a boy slept. My childhood face. Same jacket. Same silence. She placed a hand on his shoulder. "He dreams of you." From the wrong side of the road. I looked in the mirror, no reflection. No sound, no road. Just stillness. The truck shut down, but the cabin existed outside time, outside logic, and one final phrase echoed. She only appears when it's your time to disappear. The world outside no longer had time. The sky turned white like paper with no ink. I could still see the highway, but it moved backward, like an old reel in reverse. My seat felt too large. My name echoed from the glove box in unfamiliar handwriting. The woman of white sat silent, but I could hear her thoughts behind every raindrop. The dashboard glitched, then spelled, "Final loop, do not repeat this memory." I smiled, just once, as if I understood something she had never told the others. I opened the door. The fog swallowed me whole, soft as sleep, sharp as a promise. Behind me, the truck reactivated, ready for someone else to climb in and forget. I faded into the road, not as a body but as the pause between curves. And for the first time, she didn't look back. because I wasn't meant to follow. The truck moved on, but not by wheels. The world was now just symbols and echoes. The woman of white had vanished, but her absence still took up space beside me. I no longer needed mirrors. I already knew I wasn't there, just the memory of a driver. The notebook opened itself. Blank pages flipped in a wind that didn't exist. Then words appeared. Next passenger, you. But there was no pen, no author. Outside the window, headlights, another truck, another curve, another version of the same myth. And I felt her one last time watching, but not from earth, not from sky, from within forgetting. The world folded into fog, and fog folded into night. The engine quieted. The seat stayed warm. And on the radio, every legend begins with one who was never meant to return. Asterisk, asterisk.